Hello, welcome to the Rust Belt Real Estate Podcast, where we discuss all things real estate with a keen focus on the Midwest. I'm your host, Peter Grealis with Colliers. Today, my guest is Cleveland's own Dontez Sanders.
Thanks,
Dontez, welcome
Peter,
to the
for
podcast.
having me. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
We had coffee about a month ago. The conversation was enjoyable. I said, hey, we need to get you on the pod. So thanks for making the time.
It is my pleasure. You're very welcome.
Uh, Dontez has got a very interesting background, which is a big part of the reason I wanted to have him on the podcast. He earned a football scholarship to the University of Wisconsin, graduated with a bachelor's degree in history,
Yep.
returned back to his hometown of Cleveland, and played professional football with the Cleveland Browns.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
After his career with the Browns, Dontez jumped into a few entrepreneurial endeavors, we'll call it, and finally landed in real estate. Today, Dontez has managed over 750 units in Cleveland, Akron, and the surrounding areas. He operates and controls 3 profitable real estate investment companies on his own. He coaches varsity football at VASJ and youth football. He's also about to be the head coach of his son's football team in North Royalton Middle School.
I'm going to be the assistant coach there, but yes, I am. I'm excited.
Assistant coach. And most importantly, Dontez's companies own over 65 apartments, single families, condos, and duplexes.
Yep. That's a little bit closer towards 100 now. But,
okay.
But yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's a very, very exciting moment for me. Very, very exciting time for me right now.
So football was a big part of your life, still is a big part of your life. When we met for coffee about a month or so ago, you'd mentioned a few folks that were coaches of yours as a young man who are now truly involved in your life professionally and personally.
Yeah.
Take us through some of your history as, with that sport and how it got you to where you are.
Yeah, so I could start off where I transferred from Warren to Chanel after my high school football coach at Warrensville got fired. So this shows my loyalty. So then I go to Chanel, which was probably the best move that I made in my life other than marrying my wife and deciding to have a kid, right? And so what happened was this guy, he gave me the confidence. Like Coach Roski gave me the confidence to be myself and to believe in me. And he ended up, which I didn't know when I was a 16, 17-year-old kid with long braids or whatnot, that he would be my first investor in real estate. So, so what we did was, so after I graduated from Chanel, I went to Wisconsin. At Wisconsin, I went there for a receiver. I was super fast. I could catch the ball, amazing. But I just couldn't get open. Like those guys were very, very athletic, coming from Florida and coming from St. Louis, and the group of guys that were there, man, it was very difficult for me, right?
You're no longer playing in Cleveland. You're no longer that star at Chanel.
I'm no longer the big fish in the pond, right?
Yes.
I'm just another person on the team, which is cool, right? And the one thing that Barry Alvarez told us, and like in our meetings, our freshman meetings, he said that you guys probably aren't ready to lead now, right? But a part of being a good leader is learning how to follow, right? And so I learned how to follow as my freshman year by following the right people. And so my freshman year, man, it was a difficult time for me, but it was an exciting time for me because I'm away from home. I'm meeting all these new people from different cities and different states. And I'm talking about from Hawaii, from California, from Florida, from South Dakota, right? I never met anybody from South Dakota.
Sure.
But for me, it was challenging from the fact that I'm redshirting my freshman year. And I was lucky that my brother, he played football at Ohio State, and my best friend, Bam Childress, played there as well. My brother is Dontez Sanders. They redshirted as well. So it kind of prepared me for what they couldn't prepare me for was my own personal journey, right? So now I redshirt. And then my junior year, I'm just on special teams, right? I'm just on kickoff return. And when I say special teams, I'm not the guy doing the punt return. I'm the guy that's blocking on the punt return, that's tackling. I'm the Josh Creers, but even on kickoff, I'm the person who's tackling and blocking, right? But I excelled in that role. I gave it my all in that role. And so My freshman year red shirt, my second year, my red shirt freshman year, just on special teams, and they moved me to safety. They moved me to linebacker for a day, back to receiver. Then my third year there, I'm still going to position to position to position, right? So
And you wanted the ball. You wanted to be scoring TDs. You wanted to be catching passes. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, so my favorite player was Deion Sanders, and I still believe he's the best football player ever. And
Hmm.
that was I wanted the fame, right? Like the linebackers and the linemen, they don't get the fame like the receivers and the quarterbacks and the running backs, right? But then I also had to know my role. And so what happened was the defensive coordinator, he took a job at Nebraska, and then Brett Bielema came in to be the defensive coordinator. And at this time, he was the youngest defensive coordinator in the country.
Hmm.
And for some reason, me and him, we just clicked. Like he called me into his office his first day there, and he said, "Dontez, everyone here loves you, but we got to find a spot for you on the field. I've been
Hmm.
watching the special teams, man. Your effort, everything like that you're doing is good. I'm watching the workouts when you guys are running stadiums. You're competing to be first. You're doing all the things that a coach wants, but we got to get you on the field." And so this is when he put out the film, and he told me about this wheel linebacker position, right? So I'm like, linebacker, man. I want to catch the ball. I want to go score. Like I like my Bam Childress is scoring, right? Darnell, my brother, he's scoring. Like I want to be. And he showed me the film and said, "Dontez, you can either compete to start over here because this person is a starter now, and if you cannot beat him out, then our team we're not going to be as good. Or you could go back over to receiver, and you could play behind Lee Evans and this guy and that guy, and maybe they'll put you in on third down to run a back of the end route where they're not going to pass you the ball." And so that got my attention. Like, man, forget it then. Like, I want to play. I want to play.
Hmm.
I want to have an impact. And so he showed me all this wheel linebacker stuff where the team was in spread and I'm out of the box. Meaning out of the box is in football, you have the lineman, you have an offensive line, a defensive line. And if you're outside of those tackles, it's called out of the box. So
Hmm.
linebacker, most of the time, you're lined up right over those guards, playing right what they call in the trenches, right where
Okay.
the big, like it's very, very physical there. But now Coach Bielema, he's a very, very smart guy. He's showing me all this spread where I'm going to be outside checking the slot receiver or the tight end. And then he convinced me, he said, "Dontez, there's one play that you're going to really have to be tough on when you're inside the box, and it's this play called ISO." And what they're doing is they're trying to ISO the wheel linebacker, the weak side linebacker, which is that the position
Isolate. Hmm.
that I played, right? So what they'll do is they have a center block down, a guard block out, and then they will send the fullback running right at me. So it's a big old hole, and the fullback's running right at me. And so at Wisconsin, one of my best friends, who I went to his wedding in New York, Matt Bernstein, who's one of my best friends to this day.
I love that.
6'3", 280 pounds. And Peter, when I tell you that he doesn't have a neck, like he's really just a big, strong, solid,
Head
athletic,
to shoulders.
head to shoulders. And he has nothing but bad intentions on him, right? And so I got to bang with this guy every day in practice. But once the season went on, I learned that my Ohio State isn't running this play. Michigan is not like running this play, not very often.
Hmm.
Purdue isn't. So what I learned was from that in business, man, there's going to be a sacrifice, whatever
Hmm.
sacrifice
Hmm.
it is, because his job is to sacrifice his body so the running back can find a crease and run. It's my job to hit that guy, hit the fullback in the hole and don't give any ground and make like a complete wall here. And so my job is not to make a tackle. My job is not to get my name called. My job is to force a wall and let somebody else make a tackle. So
Hmm.
once I got over that part, man, I ended up being a very successful linebacker at the University of Wisconsin. My junior year is when I began to start. I led the team in tackles my junior year as well as my senior year. At the end of my junior year, I had surgery. We were in a bowl game. My shoulder was dislocated, so I had surgery that
Did
off
the
season.
injury occur during the bowl game?
The injury occurred during the bowl game. We were playing
Hmm.
against Georgia. We were playing at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers Stadium at Raymond James Stadium.
Hmm.
My family and everybody there. I've
Hmm.
never been hurt in football ever. Like twisted, like never been hurt in football.
Wow.
Um, so then to have my family there and they see me on the ground screaming and things like
Hmm.
that was not something that I would wish on anyone. But then come back my senior year, So now I have 3 screws in my shoulder. Come back my senior year, I believe our defense was ranked number 8th in the nation,
Mm.
but I still led the team in tackles. I had 20 more tackles than I did my junior year because we had more plays. My junior year, like we were 3 and out, and that was that. Our team was phenomenal. We had
And what years are we talking about here, Dontez?
so this well, I went to Wisconsin in 2001. I graduated in 2006. So my claim to fame is that I played with Joe Thomas for 4 years, right? And the
Mm.
last time that Joe Thomas got hurt, interestingly enough, was when my senior year we had Joe Thomas playing defensive end, and
Mm.
he got hurt on a non-contact play, and that was the last time he got hurt until maybe 10 years with the Browns, where like he hurt his bicep or whatnot. So you talk about an Ironman, and this is what
That was an
Wisconsin
Iron
like
Man.
what Wisconsin taught taught us, man, was we're not the 5-star athletes, right? Now listen, but we are 4-star, we're 3-star, and we're extremely intelligent, hardworking
Mm.
people who have a grudge that they didn't go to the Ohio States or the
Mm.
Michigans and things like that, right?
Wow.
Playing with Jim Leonard. Jim Leonard played with the Browns. Jim Leonard was uh, a walk-on who ended up being an All-American at the University of Wisconsin. 5-0,
Mm.
slow from somewhere up north in Wisconsin, and he ended up starting as a freshman, right? And so
Wow.
just seeing like how life worked, where I'm the big man, I'm the scholarship guy. You got this little guy from up north in Wisconsin starting, and I'm on the bench redshirt, right? So
Mm.
it humbles you very, very quickly, and it kind of puts you in the position where, dude, it don't matter what you did in the past. And the only thing that matters is what you do today, what you do
Mm.
tomorrow, and the day after. So I'm very, very grateful for the University of Wisconsin just instilling those things in me, man. Really, really am.
Um, yeah, I've been to Madison. Great town. Fun
Great
town.
town, great
Yeah.
town, great city. You're surrounded by 3 lakes, very clean, very comfortable, very safe. And I love the University of Wisconsin. We go back once a year.
Oh, good. I was gonna ask you if you make it up there often. Good, good.
Yep, yep, for
Head up there
sure.
for games?
Yep, for games. Yep, for
Okay,
sure.
okay.
Uh-huh.
So, obviously I'm in Cleveland, you're in Cleveland. I'd be remiss if we didn't discuss some of your time with the Browns, because I know listeners are gonna want to get a little bit of information on this. So before we
Yeah.
jump into real estate again, I want to make the connection between your athletic career, your athletic upbringing, and what you're doing in real estate. But before that, let's talk about the Browns.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So I was an undrafted free agent, right? So when you're an undrafted free agent, you have a list of teams who want you that you could pick from. And my list of teams who wanted me was the Green Bay Packers, the Chicago Bears, and the Cleveland Browns.
And do you have
So
an agent? Do you have an agent representing you at this point?
yes,
Okay.
Ashanti Smith was my agent, who was also my brother's agent as well, who was
Okay.
phenomenal. And they kind of worked me through the process and kind of like let me know, said Dontez. So before the draft, right? They said, Dontez, they got you being drafted maybe 7th round or free agent, right? So that whole process, right, man, think about it, man. I'm 23 years old. And I'm thinking like I'm watching the draft. Like, man, listen, they're gonna mess up and like they're gonna draft me 3rd round, right? Like it's you're delusional, right? But you have this confidence and this belief, and you're like, man, and then 1st round, 2nd round, 3rd round, and then the next day come 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and your name isn't called, right? And so now it's like, all right, and you kind of not you don't feel embarrassed, but like you the man and everybody know that you're gonna make it out, and everybody at home they're expecting you to get drafted and things like that. Your brother got drafted, your
Mm,
best friend is I'm playing with the New England Patriots. There's a level of pressure that's kind of put on myself, right?
yeah,
And so
yeah.
and so what happened was after doing the research with my agent, we knew that Mel Tucker, who is a Cleveland Heights native, and I'm
Mm,
from Warrensville, so we're both from Cleveland, who also played defensive back at the University of Wisconsin, where I went from. Um, and he is the defensive back coach at the Cleveland Browns. And so I was about 218 pounds. So I was considered a tweener, right? And so we decided that I was going to go and play in the NFL as a safety, which because I was athletic, I ran a very fast 40. I could move around and things like that. So now I'm switching positions in the NFL, right? Which is
yeah.
kind of lofty. But
Mm,
as I'm preparing for the NFL, I'm working out with Jim Leonard. Jim Leonard is the football genius. He started as a freshman, I did, and he's helping me out me for things that I'm going to go through during the camp, right? So I catch the flight from Madison. I go to Cleveland, and I am in camp. They had me with the third string at first. As I'm with the third string, I'm doing very well. I'm picking up the stuff. I'm learning it because I've been prepared by one of the smartest football players ever, and Jim Leonard. So all the drills that they're doing, I was doing this as I'm preparing for going to the Browns, right?
Got it.
So I showed very well, right? Meaning that I was a bigger guy because I was a linebacker, so I'm a little bit bigger than the other safeties, but I could move and I could fly just like those guys. So by the end of the last day of camp, I was with the starting group. Now, you don't have starters there, right? So I want to be clear. This is not where this isn't the camp where Myles Garrett would be at, or Deshaun Watson. This is
Okay.
all the rookies. So this is the rookie camp. So
Okay.
now they get me with the ones like, I'm gonna make this team. I'm gonna make this team. So how it works is after the first day of practice, you hear a list of 10 to maybe 15 guys get called, right? And
In front
then
of everyone.
in front of, so you break it down. So Cleveland Browns, let's break it down. The coach is in front of us. He's talking about everything. And right before we break it down, hey, we want to see these guys. And he read off the list of 10 to 15 guys, and then they're not there the next day of practice. And then you go to the second day of practice, and you break it, and you go and you working your butt off, and then you improve. You break it down again. Oh, and let's take a look at these 10 to 15 guys. And the third day, they're not there.
Wow.
And then we break it down. I'm like, all right, cool. I freaking made it. But we want to see these three guys. Now the list, it went from 10 to 15. Now the last day is just three guys. And I was the last name that they called. I'm like, oh my goodness, I know what it is. But maybe he just want to talk to me about something different, right? That goes back to, I'm going to get drafted in the third round. So Romeo Cornell was the coach there, man. And when I tell you, this was the most classy, the most, like, I have utmost respect for Romeo. He brought me in there. He told me how good of a camp that I had. He brought out some film and told me some things that I did good. Then he brought out like this packet on me from the university hospital on my shoulder, and how the range of motion in comparison to what should be, where's that? And pretty much told me that, Dontez, we're unable to keep you, but it's not because of your skill. It's because of what's going on here with your shoulder.
Wow.
And at that moment, man, I appreciate it. I respect it. And so I'm staying at a hotel. And so I'm waiting for the van to take me back to my hotel room. And it's just me sitting, because I moved, like after he told me that, I went to the locker room. I'm thinking like, man, should I grab as much memorabilia as I possibly can? Should I grab my gloves? Should I grab my, like, all this stuff I'm thinking about. Then I just get to the curb and it hits like, dude, this is over for you. Because I know, man, for me, I wanna be elite, right? Meaning that I want to compete with the top 1% in everything that it is that I do. And that's just what football taught me. So I sit there, man. I sat there and I bawled my eyes out for 10 minutes, and the van came, and that was that. Because I knew I wasn't going to Canada. I knew I wasn't going to Europe. My goal was to play in the NFL. So that's all. I take that back. My goal was to make it to the NFL. And I tell people right now, man, that was probably the worst goal that I had. And what I learned, man, you got to be very intentional about your goals. And I see the face that you're making, because I wasn't clear on my goal. I made it to the NFL. My goal should have been super clear, was to make it to the NFL, play for 20 years, be a Hall of Famer, and set your parents up for life and set your kids up for life. My goal was to make it to the NFL. I achieved that goal, but I wasn't fulfilled because I had the wrong goal. And so now what I learned in sports is, man, you got to be very intentional. Like when we do football drills, we do the same stupid three step every single day. Wow, I'm doing this and I'm not even thinking about it, right? Because you take that same 3-step on every single play in football. You take those 3 steps and then you react, right? And so the coaches, they always have this list that they're going off of, and everything is regimented on specific times. And so we got this big old clock, and then every 5 minutes the horn blows, because we're intentional about the goals that we want to achieve. And so what I took from that was now I have remarkable, I literally write all of my goals down. I
Mm,
have yearly goals, I have monthly goals, I have weekly goals, and then I write every day what am I doing to achieve these goals. And all these goals, they work towards what my common goal is, right? And so my goal, I'm working toward, I'm intentional now
mm,
about
mm,
working
mm.
towards my goals. And that has helped me obtain success in life because now when it's written down, what they say is your brain subconsciously works to find those answers, right? So once you write it down, and I read it every single day, I read my yearly goals, read my
Mm.
monthly goals, my weekly goal, and I write. And so then what they say is that your brain subconsciously works to achieve those goals when you're not even thinking about it. So
Hmm.
I took that from football and I applied that in life. And think about it, Peter, as we're going through this podcast now, I'm pretty sure you're not up there winging. I'm pretty sure that you have a list of questions, a list of things that you want to accomplish through this.
Sure.
I didn't know that when I went there at 17 years old, at 18, but I know it now. And so I take that and I put that to my business and I apply
Mm.
that to my business.
Perfect, perfect transition into real estate. And I know I've touched on this in the past, but I love the fact that you've taken what you've learned in football, business wise, personal wise,
Yeah.
and applied it to what you do now. Walk me through, how you started, how you leveraged some of those existing relationships to land where you're at now. I mean, you personally own your group personally owns, close to 100 doors
Yeah.
in and around the area. You also do a fair amount of property management, but it had to start somewhere.
I start
Uh,
somewhere. Yeah.
and why don't we dive into that?
All right, so how I first started, so I told you about my high school football coach, Jeff Rotsky, who to this day, man, he's near and dear to my heart, man. He's a very, very special person. Like I have
Mm,
a father. I love my father. Nobody could ever replace my father. But Jeff Rotsky, like I said, man, he's a guy, man, who's man, like I would do anything for that
mm,
guy, right?
mm,
And so when I graduated college, I knew that I didn't want to work for people because of the whole pressure situation that I've experienced through football where you're not good enough and somebody they could take your
mm,
spot at any given time
mm.
and that's just I just wanted security, right? And being an entrepreneur is not security, but I control my own destiny, right? It's up to
Yes.
me. It's not
Yes.
about if they recruit somebody else that could come in. Everything it depends on me, and I believe in myself. So what I did was when I graduated college, I was selling T-shirts downtown at the Cleveland Browns games. And the reason why I'm doing this because I didn't have a stand, right? Meaning that I got these shirts made from Steve Sports. I'm carrying 100 shirts on, and this 100 it gets heavy, right? It gets heavy.
Yeah.
So, and what I learned the first day about that was I had these Cleveland Rocks shirts because this was the Drew Carey Cleveland Rocks was very
Mm,
big back
mm.
then. And then I had the Chief Wahoo logo, it was the brother of Chief Wahoo, right? And so kind of funny, but what
The
because
brother
technically
of
I didn't
Chief
have the
Wah
license to have it, right? And so what's funny about this is that what I learned in that within the first hour, forget the adults. I had to give these shirts to the kids and put them in their kids' hand and put them up to the kid and make
Mm,
the parent take the shirt back and give it back to me. I had more success when I sold to the kids and I gave the shirts to the kids because now the parents they feel obligated to buy it, right? So I
mm,
learned that
mm.
like pretty quickly to give it to the kid, and then of course I'll work out. So now the kid had one. Now I would give you yours for half off because I got these shirts for $3. I'm selling them for $20, so I have a lot of room to
Sure,
move
sure.
or whatnot, right? And so I started off doing that, and then I had
Just you had food truck? Didn't you mention food truck at
oh
coffee?
yeah, so yeah. So my brother father-in-law had these connections with the general contractors on these sites, like at the Cleveland Clinic, at the University Hospital, and things like that, right? So I literally had a food truck, right? And so there was no like cash app, there was no like everything was cash and change there. And so I had a hot side and a cold side. And so
I
you
love
have
that.
to be prompt because these people they have, for example, my first stop was at 6:15. these people, they got to be back in working at 6:30. So meaning that we have
6:15 in the AM.
the AM. So my first stop was a
Mhm.
breakfast stop. So I had breakfast like sandwiches, I had donuts and milk and all this stuff on. And so you have to be prompt and you have to be efficient and you have to be quick because if I'm 5 minutes late, they're going right back up there because they have to work, right? And so then I have these, and so some of my stops would be like an 8 minute drive, and then some people will want to wait a little bit, but I have to be, because if I'm not there, then I'm missing out on my money, right? And so you got to have a very clean, professional looking, because
Oh,
people,
yes.
they don't want
It's
to buy from
interesting
the
that
grocery store.
you decided to, you kind of took it to the next level. You didn't just buy a food truck and park it and wait for folks to come to you. You
Yeah,
obtained these lists of where these job sites were, when they were on their breaks, and
yeah.
made those trips. Wow.
Well, I'll tell you what, yes, I did that, but I had a bunch of help with the connections that Jocko had, because Jocko was my brother's father-in-law, who is my brother's father-in-law,
Okay.
Jocko Daria. He had a lot of the connections with the with the contractors on these sites. And so because I was family, he would able to say, Dontez, listen, you can have these sites, but you have to buy your food from me. You got to buy your food from me. You got to buy your ice from me. You got to buy, now if you want to add like other things, you can, but you can store your truck here. So it was kind of one of those give and take things, right? So
Okay.
but I'm learning business now. I'm learning how to negotiate. I'm learning how to how to do my own business. And so that was fantastic. But at the end of the day, that that wasn't where I saw myself at, right? This is me trying to figure life out. I just know that I don't want to boss, right? I don't know what I want to
Yeah.
do. I know I like real estate, but I don't have no money, which now this is now I graduated in 2006. So now maybe this is like 2009 and right after the recession, right? So now
Mhm.
I'm hearing about the recession and these houses are cheap. And then my brother Darnell, he's done playing in the NFL. And so now he's dibbling and dabbling in like real estate, but he's buying all these houses like in a hood. When I say like the
Mm.
hood, I mean the hood, the real hood. So
Still in Cleveland though?
still in Cleveland, right?
Okay.
So I was like, all right, cool. I see this house on Reno for $5,500. I walked through it with my brother. I'm doing all the work. So it was not a beat up house. It didn't need a roof or furnace and stuff like that, but it needed
Hmm.
about $6,000 worth of work,
Hmm.
like of material work, right? And not listen, I'm talking about generic paint, generic tile, and things like
Sure.
that, right?
Sure.
Now we do things a lot differently, right? But literally, so hey, I didn't have $12,000. I didn't have it. Like I'm
Hmm.
literally working week to week, not paycheck to paycheck, but like job to job. And so
Yep.
I go to my high school football coach and say, Coach, I found this house in the hood. Like no business plan or anything, but it's me, right? Coach, I'm your boy, right? I found this house in the hood. I need 12,000 bucks. I promise you I will pay you back in 2 years. All right, 2 years to pay back like 12,000 bucks. Said Tez, man, listen, here you go. So
Hmm.
I get it, I do it. I paid my high school coach back in 11 months. I took the
Wow.
security deposit. I got 625 for the upstairs, 625 for the downstairs. I took the security deposits and I saved everything up, gave them, and I gave it to him cash because my tenants, like they were paying cash. So that probably worked out for him. I don't know the whole whatnot. So now I'm in the real estate game. Like now I'm a real business owner. Like now I'm feeling good about myself. I have a piece of the American dream going on now, right?
2010, 2011?
This right here was probably 2009-ish, 10-ish, like
Okay.
when I bought my first house. And
Okay.
then my
Where was
brother,
that house, Dantes? I'm gonna put you on the spot. Where was the house?
this house is on a street called Revere. And what's funny about that, I sold the house to a good friend of mine right now, Ricky Jones, who still owns that house.
Oh,
So
wow.
meaning that
What part of Cleveland?
so it was off of Corlett. So like by if I gave you like a street, I want to say maybe like 105-ish in the hood off of
Okay.
Corlett. Like it
Okay.
is a lot of crime, a lot
Yeah,
of
yeah.
drugs there. Like
Just a rough zone. Rough zone.
and,
Yeah. Still a rough
and
zone. Yeah.
yeah, and listen, but that street it wasn't terrible, but like it was a very good house.
Hmm.
And so after that, my brother met two guys, and they were going to. Their goal was to buy 100 houses in the east side suburbs of Cleveland.
Hmm.
They didn't want to do any work. They wanted to buy it, and my brother would like manage it. And then I'm the person who's doing all of the work there, right? Meaning that
Mm.
how it started. So they didn't buy 100 homes that year. They bought 89. So it's like, all right, cool. And then how I learned this part was where they would say, all right, Dontez, we have this house. Like here's the contractors done. And then we would start to work and the water's not on. So I would call those guys and say, hey guys, the water isn't on. But then they would ask me with Dontez, what should we do? My response was, let's get the water like turned on. So okay, great idea. Call them and get it turned on. Like, all
Mm.
right, cool. So guess what I do? I look up. So this was before like so I didn't have an office or anything. So I'm working at my dining room table. I get on the internet and I look up the water company phone number, which now is just saved in my phone.
Sure.
And and I called them. And so I believe this was either on a Monday or a Friday because I end up having to wait like 40 minutes or whatnot.
Of course
And
you
then
did.
they asked me about
That's a
something.
short, that's a short wait.
Right, right. But then they asked me about something called a EIN or a tax identification number. I'm like, what are you guys talking about? I got it, man. Let me call you back. So then I had to call those guys back and said, listen, I called them, but they're asking for some like EIN number. And then they give it to me. So then I save it. And so pretty much the point that I'm proving is like, I learned real estate by these guys allowing me to go out there and do it. Now,
Just throwing you in the fire, man. Just
throw me in
throwing
the
you right
fire.
in. Yeah.
But these guys, they were extremely strict, right? Meaning that it was one way to do things. And it was the right way, meaning that this paint color, this tile, we're gonna run background checks on everybody. We're gonna, and so we were using this system called Bidium, and they would rank a person on a scale of 1 through 100 in the areas that we were at, like Maple Heights, Warrensburg Heights, Bedford
Mm.
Heights. So we would accept a 75 and above, right? So meaning that if a person comes with like a 74, I only get paid when I lease a house, and then I get 10% of the rent that's paid, right?
Oh, wow.
But
Okay.
now in the beginning, when we're buying these houses, we're working on them. So really, I'm not making a ton of money except for my two family that that I have here,
Mm.
right? And so I literally learned literally just by doing it. And so after we got those houses all done and all leased out, the person that my brother knew owned 308 units in Shaker Square. They own 15 apartment buildings in Shaker Square. And I said, guys, I need to be here. I need to
Mm.
be here. Like, man, I can manage these houses. This could be my office here. People that can meet me here. I here. I could do what you guys need here. I need to be fully vested here. And there's like, you know what, Don says, that's a great idea. So I went there and I was working there, and then their apartments wasn't as updated as their houses. Their houses were brand new. Now listen, these are $900, $1,000 like dollar houses, and
Okay.
right. So meaning that our thing was it's gonna be clean and crisp. Like paint
Mm.
job is fresh, the carpet in there is fresh, the tile is clean. But the apartments in Shaker Square, they're a little bit older and dated. So what we did was we talked and like, man, we should upgrade the apartments and like charge more for rent. And then they was like, well, what do you think that we could get in rent? Like the same way how they said, well, what do you think that we should do? And I like that approach that they did with me because it kept me thinking rather than them telling me that the
Mm.
answers. And so they gave me one
Dontez,
bill.
was this group out of town?
No, so this was a local. So this was Crossroads Group. This is a local group.
Okay, so they're local. And
The
so
local.
it's interesting that they're local, but they're also turning to you for your input and your advice.
Yeah, so one of the guys here, he was investing since he was 16 years old. His father owned a cancer hospital in Canton. So he's been investing in real estate for so he knows it,
Mm.
right? He knows it, but I think that they were wanting to like question me or wanted to see where I don't know, but
Mm.
maybe just to see where my thought process was
Yeah.
at.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so
yeah.
so I like cool. So they gave me one building. It was 12 units in there, and they had a bunch of bigger buildings and a bunch of better buildings. This is probably their worst building
Mm.
that they gave me. By giving me, meaning that it was their money. They just let me manage it for free for them, right? So I met all the contracts and do all of those things. And again, I don't get paid until it's leased out. but I'm learning, right? Like this, like I'm
Mhm.
thinking, like to me, this is cool, right? I'm standing here, I'm meeting these contractors. They're asking me questions. They're
Yeah.
taking order from me, right? This is
Yeah.
my so not before where a coach is telling me, Dontez, I told you that you gotta do this. You gotta do that. Now I'm in a position where I'm saying, guys, I need you guys over here. I need you guys doing
Yeah.
X, Y, and
You're
Z. So
running the job.
I'm liking how this is feeling, right? I'm liking the
Mhm.
feel of real estate. I didn't love the feel of Noni Juice where I have to walk up to a person, the network like marketing and Noni Juice where I have to walk up to a person in a grocery store and try to sell them this bottle of juice, right? Like that didn't make me feel good, right? Like it
Yeah.
didn't make me feel bad, but like this is not like I don't
Doesn't
see
feel
me
right.
leave this to my son, right? And
Mm.
even with the food truck, I love the food truck, but that wasn't what that's not what I thought that I should be doing. Like I didn't feel like I was working in my purpose, right? Which is why I always volunteer coaching because it's not about the money, man. It's about me feeling at home and at peace and where I get to be unapologetically myself. Like I get to be aggressive. I get to be fast paced. I get to teach, right?
Mm,
And
mm,
then my high school coach, I tell people this, I know football a lot, right? I know the game of football, but he has so much more knowledge in coaching football and
mm,
teaching the game of
mm.
football.
There's a
So now I'm
difference. Yeah.
constantly learning as well, right? And so now coming back into real estate, I'm learning this new stuff from these people who had uber success, like from Barry Alvarez. If he tell me something, I'm listening to him because he had the success, right? And so now I get these guys in real estate, man. They're telling me the instruction that what to do, and I followed it. I followed it, right? And so much so to a point where I worked with those guys for maybe 4 to 5 years, and I
Mm.
started buying houses during this time now in like the east side, like suburbs or whatnot. And so I had a conversation with them, like, guys, like one of the things that I want to do, man, the best compliment that I could give was to tell you that I don't want to work for you. I
Mm.
want to be like you. I don't want to work for you. This is a compliment, right? Meaning that now I also need you to give me some free advice now. Hey, I respect you guys so much that I don't want to work for you anymore, and I need your help to secure this presentation that I'm going to present to my high school coach. So I'm going to ask my high school coach for $100,000. Now, to me, $100,000 is like somebody going to give me $100,000, six figures, right? So I met with these guys every Sunday for 5 Sundays, and this is the truth. I knew about Zillow, I knew about Craigslist, I knew about the marketing, I knew about how to get the water turned on and things
Yeah.
like that, but I didn't know about a cap rate. I
Mm.
did not know about a cat rate. I didn't know about a performer. I didn't know about um, all of these things, right? So when we met and they're drilling
Meat
me,
and potatoes are the deals, with
me like
what you
right,
need to know. Yeah.
right, I could tell you that I'm gonna paint this, I'm gonna do this bathroom this way, this kitchen this way, and we're gonna be able to rent it out for this amount, and I
Mm.
need X amount of dollars. But I need to be able to articulate that story to investors, right?
Mhm.
I never done it because the first time, hey coach, man, I need $12,000 for this house. We're here, like, all right, who? And now dollars, man. I need to go in there with my with my DS group shirt on and buttoned up
Yes.
because again, this is my high school coach and he'll do anything for me. I genuinely believe that right now. I believe that he's married, got kids, he got a son and a daughter. If you ask me who do he loves his family, his son
I
is
see where
number
this is
one.
going.
Me and Bam Childress, because Bam played for him as well, we might be slightly behind his wife and daughter. We might be slight, but that's how. So again, and I'm saying that jokingly, but that's how my coach. That's how we are, right? That's
Mm.
that's,
Family.
like that's us.
Yeah.
And so when I met with those guys, the first Sunday, they're asking me these questions, and I don't know what they're talking about, and they laugh. They laughed at me, and they literally laughed me out of the office. So they laughed at me. I went back to work on Monday and I worked through it. Then I came back the next Sunday and they're asking me more questions and they laughed me out again. By the third time, now I'm able to answer these questions and kind of like Google search, what should I do to prepare for an investor? And then I go and research. So now I'm able to answer some of these questions. And then the fourth and fifth time, now I'm answering these questions like boom, boom, boom. Come on, let's go now. Now I'm laughing at them because now I know the answers. And I remember them saying, "This is Dontez, you are ready." Shake my hand, said, "Dontez, you're ready." I set up a meeting with Coach Roski, and at this time, he didn't know that I was preparing to meeting with these guys, so I could
Mm.
ask for the $100,000. So I set up a meeting for him. I didn't tell him the $100,000, but I wanted to talk to him about real estate. So we sat down, and now at this time, he's working with Merrill Lynch,
Okay.
and he's a vice president of Merrill Lynch. So we go to his
So
office.
he has a background in finance.
He's a yeah, he's a finance.
Wonderful.
Yeah, so
Wonderful.
he's a money guy. So again, so he's not a teacher, he's not an educator, right? So meaning that he's been a football coach since, so Bam Children, so this was since maybe 98, 97. He's, and like Coach Rossi is just a legend of what he does.
Okay.
But financially, man, he's a very, very intelligent person, right?
Mm,
And
mm.
so as we meet, he's asking me these questions, and I'm going through. And then when I get to the point where I'm going to ask him for the 100,000, I wasn't really confident like I am now. Now I ask them for, or I ask anybody, right? I'm working on a project
Yeah.
now where I need to raise like 33 million. I'm not worried about that. But when I first asked them for the $100,000, I remember this. When I said the $100,000, I took a slight pause and I looked at him because I wanted to see if he was gonna move around or do any type of
Mm.
flinching or whatnot. And when he was just looking like as me presenting, ooh, we good. Like this is not a no, like this is gonna be a go. And I was able to present confidently. And we had a handshake deal, said Dontez, $100,000, we got it. You go out, you find property, we could do it. And then from that day, I went out and literally I had a very, very good realtor who would schedule all these houses in the east side suburbs, and I would go through. Now at this point, I've been looking at all these houses because when they were buying the 89 houses, I would walk through with these guys and say, "But this is messed up here because of this concrete right here. Dantes, don't worry about all of this chip paint here in the kitchen because that's the cosmetic stuff. Don't worry about that stuff. That's like that stuff is nothing. You see the roof, you see those windows, you see the furnace, you see the driveway. Those are the big ticket items that's not going to make this deal work. So
Yep.
the ugly, don't worry about ugly. You want to go
Mhm.
to the, so I'm learning the game, and now I'm learning how to say, all right, so I'm over here in Shaker Heights. I know that Shaker Heights is a high tax city in the state, so I can't charge $900 for a property here. I'm gonna have to charge 1,200 just because it could take. So I'm learning all of this stuff because I've been around it. I've been around it. And so then I started buying all of these houses and things like that. And then this is when I kind of left the Crossroads group, but they had apartments in Shaker Square. And so I went out and I hired a realtor. And I kind of have not a disdain for realtors, but
Hey now.
I just don't. I think that realtors, man, they make too much money when the entrepreneurs do all the work. And so I hired
Mm.
a, a realtor to help me find an apartment building in Shaker Square. And for me, it had to be in Shaker Square because I knew I could go to my investor and tell them that I could buy a building here, and this is exactly what it's going to cost, it's going to appraise for, and what we could get in rent because I've been doing this for 4 or 5 years
Know
now.
it. You've been
Like
in
I
it.
know it's like the back of my hand.
Yeah.
And so realtor couldn't find me anything. He couldn't find me anything in Shaker Square, right? And so at this point in my life, I had one suit. It was my best suit. It's kind of flashy. It was the suit that I got married in. I got it custom made. It's tan with pinstripes on it. I got this nice flashy shirt. This is my only suit. And I put it on, and I spent everything that I had outfit. I had some Ferragamo shoes that I still have to this day that look brand
Nice.
new. I put
Nice.
that outfit on, I tucked in my shirt, and I started knocking on doors in Shaker
Love it.
Square and apartment buildings. Then what happened was after I knocked on maybe about 5 or 6 or whatnot, some people was like, yeah, the owner isn't here. He's never here, blah, 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 blah. Then I get to this one building, a tenant that I used to manage at Crossroads Group Building, they were there. They said, "Hey, Tez, Marv isn't here now, but normally on Tuesdays he's with the contractor. I mean, sorry, with the maintenance. But I could call
Mm.
the maintenance guy because it was Tuesday, but he wasn't at that building because he had several buildings on Southmoreland and Northmoreland.
Okay.
And so they called the maintenance guy, and the owner was with him. And the owner comes right to. So one day, I'm probably out there for 2 hours just knocking on doors. I found an owner who was willing to sell me his building, and he
Wow.
sold it to me. And
Wow.
he sold it to me. So this is where I started to like realize like, man, realtors, like, and then I was gonna pay him this money. So I bought my first building. It was called the Sands, right? Because Dontez Sanders, this was just something that was just near and dear to me, man. That man, I got my piece of the American pie. I'm living the American dream. I'm putting my family name on this building. This is the Sands. It was a 16 unit apartment building. I bought it for
On Southmoreland? On Moreland?
on Southmoreland. Yeah,
Southmoreland?
Northmoreland was it was on Southmoreland. Northmoreland was a little bit too rich for
Yeah,
my blood
yeah.
at that time. But so now I'm like, all right, cool. So now I found this building. So now I know that Coach Rossi would buy this building with. I know this without a shadow of a doubt he will.
Mm.
So I'm not gonna ask him first. I'm gonna go to my wife's boss because now I want to make sure that I have multiple investors, right? So my wife boss, phenomenal guy. She's a high level energy director of sales for a company called Integrity Energy here
Okay.
in Cleveland.
Okay.
And so we were at like Cavs games, and he will always ask me about real estate, and I could see him like picking my brain and whatnot. He's a younger guy as well, so he's probably like our age, Peter, right?
Okay.
And so I told him about this building that I bought, and he's interested. And I said, "Listen, Mike, I'm gonna buy this building with you or without you."
Mm.
Dontez, man, this sounds awesome, man. But right now, man, I'm just working through a bunch of things right now. It's just not a good time for me. I said, hey man, it's all good. I get it. Went home the next day, called coach, and now like I don't have the list of investors like I do now, right? So
Mm.
now it's like I know that Coach Roski would do it, but now I need Coach Roski to do it because I don't know who else I'm gonna call. So I have my presentation and everything ready, which is not like my presentation is now. It's more me pleading that I can do it. Coach Rice, all right, so we could buy a 16 unit building for $195,000. We could get roughly $900 for rent here. Let's do it. So bought that building.
That's a good price.
It's
Was the building distressed?
oh no, so this building, so the second one was this building, 16 units. One unit was occupied by an on-site manager, and then they had one unit that was vacant. So out of 16 units, it was cash flowing off of 14. And so what I did was I asked my high school football coach just for the purchase price, and that we were going to use the cash flow from the building to rehab the vacant unit. So what I did was after the first month, I collected the rent, and that vacant unit, I went out and I did it just like Crossroads Group. I mean, same exact tile. Like, so this building is 2 doors down from the buildings that I'm managing. So I know same tile, same paint, and I actually had some of the workers who used to work for Crossroads Group who left after years. They came in for I didn't steal them. It was just how
Yeah.
time goes, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
now I get the same people doing the same work and released it out. So then after that, I look at the rent roll. Like, all right, cool. So now we're at 100% full. Now what I need to do is I need to find a person who has the least amount of rent, who lease is expired. And that's what I did. Every single month, I will rehab one new unit, and I'll find the person with the least amount of rent, and there were mostly 2 bedrooms, move those guys out, rehab it, and bring in brand new people.
Hmm.
So once I did that, so now at the Cavs game again with my wife and her boss and their team, and I'm talking about how we kicking butt with this apartment building and this, that, and other, and like this art, and now we even buying single family houses, man. Mike, I told you about it. You could have been making all this money too. I tell you, next building you find, I'm in on it. I
Oh,
want in
man.
on it. Guess what I did? I went home the next day, looked at, and called a realtor. Realtor couldn't find anything. Put my same suit on, knocked on the doors, found a 24 unit building. I bought that building. It was a 24 unit building. I bought it for $240,000, and I named that
Shaker
building
Square?
the Shaker Square. This was on Hampton Road. So now, first I'm
On the
on
deal on Hampton, yeah.
yeah, I'm on 2950 Southmoreland. Now I'm getting closer towards the square now, right? Now this building was jacked up. This not this building. It was it had several vacant units, had a lot of roof issues, sewer issues, and things like that.
Any
But for
squatters? Anybody living there? Anybody squatting in the units?
oh man, listen, well, so at no squatters at this building, per se, because the area was still it was still respectable and it
Yeah.
was still locked up and things like that. Um, and so what I did was, so yeah, I bought that building, and I
Ten
named that.
thousand dollars a door.
Can't beat that. Can't beat that. But the cool thing is now I have the Sands, and now down the street I have the Madison Manor because Wisconsin. I felt like, man, it matured me, man, and it helped me be. And again, not the city, right? I tell people, man, I'm not loyal to brick and mortar. I'm loyal to people, right? And so the
Mhm.
people at the University of Wisconsin, they made me who I am, and so I feel that. So it's just one of those things where Madison Manor, that's the
Love it.
name of
Yeah.
this building.
Yeah.
And then again, and so I used the cash flow from that building to rehab it,
Now,
and
what
I
year was
sold.
this, Dontez? What year was Madison Manor?
Shoot, so this was, so I bought that. This is probably, it's 2004, probably closer to 2016 maybe. And so I sold that building. Um, right after COVID, so like in 2021, because prices were sky high. So that building for, I believe, like $1 million, and then the building for 195. No, this is cool. My first building, when I bought that building, I told Coach Roski that that building, it will appraise for $850,000. So again, this is my first deal, and the reason how I knew it, because I knew what I could get in rent. And so
Mm.
apartments, they're different than how you could create the value of an apartment by the amount of money that it brings in versus the expenses that's going out, right? So I could kind of determine what the value of the building is going to be, because with houses, you're relying on what other houses in the area sell for, right? With
That's a very good
apartments,
point. Yeah.
I could prove that my building is worth X, Y, and Z because of the amount of money that I have coming in versus the amount of money that I have going out. And so my first building, I told Coach Roger, like, this building is going to be worth $850,000. When they came out and appraised it, they appraised it for $840,000. And I was upset. I couldn't believe it, man. I like, no, 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 no. Like, I still feel to this day that they shorted me by 10,000 bucks. But I refinanced that building, and then I gave Coach Roski his cash back, and then so he was at, I believe, 6% interest.
Mm,
And as I got a little bit more savvy and being an entrepreneur and taking on investors, I don't give out 50% equity anymore with 6%
mm, mm,
interest,
mm.
right? But that's my high school. This is my high school football coach, and at this point, I wouldn't be where I'm at now if I didn't like kind of make, because was he taking it? He's probably taking a huge risk on a person who really didn't know business and
Risk.
real estate, right?
Yeah. It's
So
a risk. Yeah.
yeah, so it's like one
It
of
got you
those
started too.
we
I
started,
mean,
right? And then it also helped me get my other investor, which was my wife's boss, right? So it just helped me get in the game, and it actually helped me learn or whatnot. So
no one does it alone, man. No one
yeah,
does it alone. You look at some folks. Yeah, I was talking about Dan Gilbert last week. I was hanging out with a friend who's from Detroit, and he was just asking me if Dan was present in Cleveland. But the discussion basically boiled down to, I mean, Dan Gilbert's the face, but Dan Gilbert did not do it alone.
yeah,
And regardless of your size, nobody does it alone.
yeah, for sure,
And your
for
story
sure. And I'm
proves it,
learning.
you know?
And I'm learning that on the deal that I'm working on right now, that there's no way that I could do this deal like by myself. And I'm forging through, and I'm learning new stuff every single day, man. And it's exciting, man.
So let's get into, so that was another reason I wanted to have you on the pod, was to talk about a pretty exciting program that you've been picked to participate in. You're currently participating in.
Yep,
It's called CLE-EDI, the
yep,
Cleveland
CLE,
Equitable Development Initiative.
yep,
Um, this is 14 promising entrepreneurs from diverse backgrounds
yep,
selected to participate, and I'm reading from the press release here, selected to participate in an innovative new real estate development program with a clear mission to break down historical barriers and empower these individuals with the knowledge and tools needed to shape the future of Cleveland's communities.
You hear that? It's a clear goal. So this goes back when I was younger. I didn't have a clear goal, right?
Hmm.
That's a clear goal right there, right?
So walk me through this. This made news, obviously, for all the right reasons.
Mhm.
And I think folks who aren't in real estate know of this, but certainly people in our industry are well aware. But for the folks that don't, could you kind of just maybe just a brief overview of your experience with the program so far and where it's heading for you?
Yeah, so I'm gonna do a little bit more. I'm gonna start how I found out about it, right? And
Okay,
so
wonderful.
I'm I'm a big sports guy, a big football guy. I believe
No
sportsman
kidding. You like
shape,
football?
correct? And so how I learned about this is Mike Doss, O State legend, champion, 2002 national championship MVP, played with the coach and whatnot. He
Wow.
is a realist. He's a realtor down in Columbus, doing some phenomenal things, man. We go on a golf trip each year, man. He's amazing, right?
Okay.
He sent me a link and said, Tez, man, you need to apply for this. I said, Mike, I ain't never did an interview in my life. I had never done an interview in my life. He said,
Hmm.
Dontez, I'm doing something similar here. Now it's not on this type of level, but man, I believe that you would be awesome with this. So I
Okay.
researched it. And then what I did was I'm like, you know what? This sounds like, man, this could be perfect for me. So I filled out the application and things like that. And then they had me in for an interview. Again, Peter, I never did an interview, and I want people to kind of know the real me. So I ain't put on no suit. I ain't try to talk perfect English. I wanted them to know the real me, right? So I put on what I wear every day. I put on a DS Group hoodie, and I put on some jeans. And I said, guys, I hope I'm not underdressed, but I wanted you guys to get to know the real Dontez. So if you accept me in this program, you're not gonna see me dressed up in a suit today and then tomorrow in a class. And I no, this is who you're going
That's who
to
you
get.
are. Was this
I'm
down at
not gonna
City
do
Hall?
no. This was down at the Greater Cleveland
Partner Center?
Foundation. Yep, right there by right by House Square.
Yes, yeah, gotcha,
Yep,
gotcha.
yep,
Yeah,
yep,
yeah.
yep.
Okay.
So went in, it was about 6 people in there during the interview, and they're asking questions and things like that. I believe they interview maybe, let's say, 100 people or
Oh, I'm
whatnot.
sure.
And so when I went through the process, I asked them if I could be the first interview, right? Because I want it to be me, and I wanted to kind of set the tone on
Hmm.
what this program should kind of like be about. And as I'm like telling them my story and things like that, and I didn't know where this was gonna go. And then after my interview, William Willis, the person who's running this program, he gave me a call a couple days later and asked me if I wanted to go to the Browns game with him and I could bring a +1. So like, hey, do you want me? And again, sports, right? Sports is
Sure.
bringing this together. So like, do you want to bring the wives? So like, well, my wife's not a big football fan. Like, cool then. Well, I'll bring Bam in, my best friend, Bam Childress. And he brought his friend. And then we kind of got to talk and things like that. And I would just ask them about the program and if they made any like picks or whatnot and this, that, and the other. And then I was informed that I was a part of the program, right? And
Hmm.
so what I did was then they sent out like an email or whatnot of people who was in there. So I kind of was looking through the emails to see who's on there to see if I recognize anybody. And then I get a call from Cranes Magazine. They want to interview me, and I'm getting calls from all these newspapers that they want to interview me and stuff like that. I'm like, oh man, this is like pretty cool, whatnot.
Now, when was this? That was this Dantes? Was this last year?
No, so this is a 6 month program. So we just got through the halfway mark. So this started in during football season because Coach Rossi wasn't glad that I was missing Wednesdays in practice. So I want to say maybe in October, November, December, January, February.
So, but it was October of last year, though.
Oh yeah, so sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Everything. So like maybe October, November, yeah, of
Okay.
last year. Um, And then when we met like in person in the class and wait, sorry. So then I'm getting these calls. My councilman, he lives right around the block from me in the neighborhood. I walk my dog Badger um around a lot. So I see people and then we talk and whatnot. called me and said, Dontez, man, congratulations on being accepted in this program, man. Um, I looked through the list of people, man. There's some phenomenal guys here, man. Andre Bryant is brilliant. And
Mm.
then I get a call from somebody else said, Dontez, congratulate. I'm like, man, how, and I'm like, how did y'all find out? Like, Dontez is every, and then people started to send me links and things like that. I'm like, oh
Mm.
my goodness, this is pretty cool. And then then I got an email where they put you up with a mentor or whatnot. And then my mentor is Josh Rosen. So Josh Rosen, what he does, he redevelops historical buildings, right? So he started off doing like this thing in Oberlin and built kind of like a community when he was in college in Oberlin. And
Mm.
Josh Rosen is our age. He's what, 45 years old, I believe.
Okay.
Not the quarterback, Josh Rosen, the entrepreneur, Josh Rosen. So, and what's awesome about Josh is that, man, he's accessible. So when
Mm.
they,
Mm.
so I got an email before our first class that this is my mentor or whatnot. And I immediately responded right back, probably within 30 seconds of the email. Josh, I would love to meet you ASAP. Can we meet for coffee or whatnot? He accepted, and man, we've been running that, and he's been giving me so much, just so much guidance or whatnot. Like a
So the
lot of people,
program, just for our listeners, the program, the big picture of this program is to connect Cleveland-based budding entrepreneurs or developers in the early stages of their career
yeah,
with developers who are more established and can provide them with the mentorship to steward
yeah.
them through.
So I wouldn't even say early in their career because a lot of these people in this program, man, they're established real
Oh yeah,
estate.
Dominic Ozan is in there, and he's
Yeah.
second generation developer. Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
well, well, his son is in there, not the father.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
Yeah,
Dominic
yeah, yeah,
too.
yeah, 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 yeah. And so, like, what it is like there's a lot of they make so what they do is everybody they have mentors or advisors who's done what we're doing, right? And so when they interviewed us, what they did was they put us with advisors who's doing what we want to do, which we are doing, right? So Dominic, he's more of a construction guy, right? So he
Yes.
has
Yeah.
so some people they have different mentors who focus on different things, right? Since I'm the historical redevelop guy, because in my past I did Shaker Square, I did these. Now listen, I wish I knew about the historical like credits then, right?
Sure.
But um, but the whole goal is every other Wednesday we have a presenter. They come and they present to our cohort, right? And so meaning that we had Mitch Snyder who
Mm.
built Pinecrest, who built the Steel Yard. He's involved in the program. He's actually a mentor as well. They
Wow, that's
had
amazing.
Robert Simon. This guy is brilliant. Robert Simon. I actually have a 12 o'clock with him today. He's giving me some input on my performer. And so he's done deals like this for 20 years or whatnot. He teaches at Cleveland State. He's going to be retiring within the next few months. He's done 20 deals like I'm doing now,
Oh,
and he's
wow.
giving me this advice for free, right? And so
Yeah.
the thing is, like, I've met so many people who's given me so much free advice, man. Just met so many good people. So being part of this cohort, they you're a member of the NAIOP.
Okay.
And so and that's one of the nation's largest real estate group. And so I'm meeting so many people. So I contacted Charlie Belisco, and I let him know, like, I don't want to just be a part of this, right? I want to actually be involved and making an impact in this. And so we sat down for coffee, and he asked me, like, what did I want to do? So I told him what I was doing, and I wanted to work with like historical tax credits and things like that. Not only that I could learn, but I could be a steward. I could serve in the program as I
Mm.
learn as well, right? So he hooked me up with Mike Zakor, which is my real estate attorney, especially for these deals, because again, you can't do anything by yourself, right?
No, you
And so
cannot.
I'm a member of the government committee affairs where I'm going to be going down to Columbus talking about real estate legislation and things like that, and things that could be made more simple for developers in the
Mm.
area that I am in, right? And so just talking and just learning and just meeting all these different people, I would have never had these connections in the past, right?
Yeah.
Because I was the type of person where I put on my suit and I go knock on doors because I'm frustrated at my realtor, right? I didn't have the connections, right? I was doing this by myself.
Mm.
And I could keep on going out and buying 68 unit buildings and 24 unit buildings, but that's not the 1% of real estate. What
Mm.
these deals that I'm doing now, what they say these are very complicated deals. They're going to take 24 to 26 months to get done.
Sure,
I'm gonna
sure.
have to partner up with different people because I don't have the background to do. And it's really like this complicated 5,000 piece puzzle with no edges, right? No edges. You're trying to plug and fill, right? And so to be transparent with you, I'm not gonna tell you the area or whatnot, but I'm working on this very historic building. The name of it be recognizable if I said it. And then everybody, like I walk through with architects, I walk through with construction team, I walk through with Dominic. Yep.
Okay. So stepping back quickly. So
Okay.
classes with mentors, but then, and I think you're alluding to this, then an actual real project.
Yeah. And so at the end of the program, we're going to have to present our performer to a panel of people, right? And
Okay.
so they're teaching us all about the performers and like how to make the performers work. By they, I mean every other Wednesday, we have different people come in to present to us, right? So when it
Mm-hmm.
first started, we had like a lot of the people who's done deals like us. And then we had like the Cleveland Land Bank come, and now we're having professors, and we have next week Mike Sikora is coming. We had different
Okay.
attorneys come. Last week we had PR people come. We had newspaper people. So we're just talking about how they see things and how we see things and what we should be working for, and maybe how a publicist could like help us, or when the Cleveland Land Bank come, it's just like how to work with the city and things like that, like how
Yeah.
to find funding and things like that. It's just opening up our eyes to different avenues to how to get deals done and how to make that capital stack work and things like that.
Hmm. Now I know you at coffee, you and I discussed our project, and we know how real estate works. You may not be able to share all of it at the moment, but I know, again, so you're working your way through this program. Will this project, and I know you've identified a site, you're working with architects, attorneys, CPAs. Is this a
Historical tax
project?
people, all
Tax
that stuff.
people, yeah,
Yeah.
sure, big part of it. Is this a project that, you quote unquote graduate from the program and then the project kicks off, or is this project underway during these
So
during
the
this program?
so the project is underway. So this project has nothing to do with the class, right? So the
Oh,
reason why I'm doing this project, right, is because of this class. So
oh, I
meaning this,
see.
so I could I could have done so some people in our class, they are for their performer presentation, they're doing like an office or whatnot of a building that they are already at, right? Cool.
I see.
Everybody like that's cool. I wanted to do the 1%. I don't know if there's going to be too many people in my cohort. Listen, I could be wrong because people they're talking about this, but they're not giving locations and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I know what a couple people they're doing, but I don't know if anybody in my class is doing a 33 million project with historical tax credits and opportunity zones.
You
And
say 33 million?
so right now the performer has this project at $33 million, but now when we're done, this project is going to be worth almost $60 million. It's going to be a huge, over 144,000 square feet. It's going to be over 100 units. Now, when I talked to you last time, I told you it was 72 units, and um, I have my exterior layout drawn.
Okay.
Now I'm meeting my architect over there tomorrow at 2, and we're putting the finishing touches on the interior, right? Because I've had to like make a change because the project, it wasn't penciling in with the 70 units.
Mm.
So what I had to do is I had to find out, and again, so this is good. So when I'm telling everybody, when I'm walking through with the historical people, the architects, when I'm walking through with the construction people and bankers, everybody loves the idea. Oh, this is going to be the best thing in the world. Oh, this is awesome. But then when I go back and talk to Josh, the person who's done it,
Your
he
mentor
kind
in a
of
lot of
brings me back.
ways in the program. Yeah.
Yeah, he says, Dontez, I'm concerned that this is not going to pencil at the way that it is now. Great project. I love it. We got to figure out. So then I'm asking, like, let's shoot, how do I make it pencil? What do you want to lose? Do you want to lose garage space? Do you want to lose one of the 3 commercial spaces like that you have down there? Do you want to build on the rooftop to like, so because this way you can add another 25 more? Like, what do you want? So now then am I able to build and still get the historical tax credits? Because historical tax credits, sometimes they don't want the newness to be seen from the exterior, right? And so then do I get rid of all of the commercial units, right, on the first floor and just do all apartments, but then I won't get the new market tax credits, right? And so this goes back to talking to people who know more than me and trying to put together this complicated puzzle with no edges on the end, right? Just trying to figure out how, like, this great building, everybody loved the location, everybody loves everything about it. It can work. Now I'm talking to people who's smarter than me, who's done these. Like I was at the First Watch yesterday with a banker. For the first time, I showed my performer to somebody that wasn't Josh, and I said, "Do not judge me on this because this is my first performer ever." And we sat down, and he gave me some great feedback. He said, "Dontez, I'm surprised that this is your first one because this is pretty good. But here's what the banks they're going to look like." So meaning that now, so before yesterday, I had like a $3.4 million gap. After I met with him, now I have like a $5 million gap that I'm going to, but this is all good because I don't have any opportunity zone taxes in there. I don't have any uh like no other historical taxes in there that's going to be able to deduct from that price. So I'm putting it through a very thorough stress test now, which I never done a stress test until Josh came down and a couple like weeks ago and broke it down to me because everybody was telling me how great it was. And Josh was like, yeah, this is great. But
But
Dontez, this you don't have a project yet. Like we cannot do this deal right here. You need to have 100 units or more. And so now we did that and we took out things. And now I'm going back with the architect tomorrow to shore things up. And I'm about 2 weeks away from having my interior schematic layout done. Because then once I have that, then I'm gonna have Ozane come back out and they could price what every single screw is going to cost.
okay. And will
So
you anticipate they may be doing the project? Jose?
So, and this, I'm gonna tell you the exact same way that I told him. In a perfect world, I would love him to. In a
Sure.
perfect world, this would be 2 people coming from the co-work, man. We're working together, man. This is
Dominic,
what,
you listening out there?
hey, this, he knows, but this is why they brought us here, man. They brought us here for
Yes,
stuff
yes.
like this, right? Now, we just got to make sure that everything makes sense, right? I want to use them, but I also have to do my due diligence to make sure that that pricing is the best pricing that I could possibly
Got to
get.
make sense for you. Yeah.
Right? So it has to make sense for me and it has to make sense for them. But I think that it'd be a great story for us to come together from
Oh,
this group, right? That'd be awesome. So in a perfect world, the answer will be 100% for sure. I'm going to use him, but I'm uncertain still.
sure, sure, sure.
Right?
What's the so 100 units potential with some retail on the first floor.
Yeah.
Um,
So I met with the people and that the group of people and that the community leadership in that area. And so before I
like
just went in
like
there,
the CDC, if you will.
yeah.
Yeah.
So rather than me going in there saying, "Hey guys, I'm gonna do blah 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 blah," I had an idea of what I wanted to put in that building. So I met with those guys, and at this time I had a 71 unit layout that I could show them that Geist made years and years and years ago that the seller gave me. So what was cool about
Oh,
this, man? I want to. So when I first how I found this building, I think that this is going to be cool, right? I told Josh what I wanted to do. Josh said, go find a building. So I remember when when the Crossroads group, they say, Dontez, well, what should you do next? So now I told Josh what I wanted to do. Josh said, well, go find a building. So I went to Gordon Square because this was an area that I know is a trendy area. These are the type of areas that I want to be in.
And again, just to clarify, you were looking for a building that you could convert to multifamily, correct?
I was looking for a building that I could convert to multifamily with commercial, historic building. So what I'm doing is I'm chasing all of the taxes, all of the grants, the brownfields, all of that. So I'm looking for areas like that, right? And so I'm very intentional about my goals with what I'm looking for, right? And so now I went to Gordon Square because me and my wife, we have this piece of spot that we love. We love going there. And I found a building that was right next to it.
Il Rione?
Yeah. And then they get
Yes.
a little Ronnie's now too. But yeah, for sure.
Yes.
So I was like, all right, cool. So I found this building. It's a beautiful building from the exterior. I fell in love with it, right? So I called Josh. Josh, I finally found a building. I fell in love with it. You got to come and see it. So Josh comes out and see it. And then we walk through it, sit down, says, I can see why you fell in love with
Was it
this
on the
building.
market?
This building was on the market.
Okay.
This building was on the market. And then sit down, Tess, I can see why you fell in love with with this building, but here's why this would be a hard pass for me. And we walk through the building and he's telling me, like, Dontez, so you see how much middle space that this is? We can't put any units here because there's no window. So this is a bunch of dead. So now I'm like, I didn't even think about it. I just wanted a big building there. So now, cool. So now after he broke it down to me like that, a couple weeks passed, I'm walking through buildings and I'm finding stuff, and this is not going to work because Josh said this, and this won't work because Josh said that.
You know what to
And
look
then
for now.
I know what to look for now, right? And then
Mhm.
I found this building, like, oh my God, 18-foot ceilings. This is freaking building. This is great. And so now my wife found that building. She did a reverse search from units, from apartments, well, from property that was listed 10 to 15 years ago. And it was taken off of the market that hasn't sold. And my wife found it and sent it to me. So I was like, man, I gotta see this building. So I got over there. I met with the owner, walked through the building, telling him my vision for the building, and just me being me. I just went over there just like this, said, oh my God, I'm in love with this building. It's gonna be the best thing that you ever done in your life. And an hour after, this is no bull crap, I'm not exaggerating. An hour after I left, I get a call. The owner wants to partner with me. The owner wants to use the sale of the building as equity in the deal because he loved me and he loved my vision for it. He believed that we can make it work, right? So I'm like, what? Oh my goodness. And then I'm like, oh my God, he's just pumped up. I know. So it's rolling out. And then he's like, and I want to send you something. I want to send you something. Dontez, what's your email address? So I give my email address, and then he sent me over a layout that Geis made for the building years and years ago. So now I'm thinking, Josh can't say that this cannot be an apartment building because here it go right here.
Did Geis have it under contract?
So from my understanding, so this was like 20 years ago. Guys, so from my understanding, it was not under contract. I believe that the seller, not the current seller, was possibly thinking about doing that, like adding, like turning it into a mixed use.
And he employed Geis to put the drawings together.
Yeah, so that's what I believe he did, right?
Makes
and
sense.
so now I was like, all right, cool. So now I got Josh coming over, but now I got to get my high school football coach over here now because this ain't gonna be no $195,000 coach. It's not gonna be a 100,000. I want you to see my mentor who I'm working with through the program that I told you about. I want you to meet the seller who's just as excited about this deal as me. And I want to put all of you guys together and we're gonna go up here and I'm gonna walk you all through and I'm gonna give you all my vision for the building. And man, when I tell you, when we left that building, everybody was kumbaya and shaking hands and giving hugs, and it was freaking amazingly awesome.
That's exciting.
And so yeah, from that point, then we did the phase one already. I got a quote for the phase two. I signed my contract with the architect, like I said, who's doing the work. So right now we have very, very good footage and we have good steam ahead. But right now, for me, the most important thing is to get this performer buttoned up because I'm going to have to partner with a developer that could sign on the dotted line for maybe 15 million bucks to say, hey, you know what, I'm gonna be responsible for this, but I'm not gonna be able to do that until I go back to my Sunday meetings, right? Where I met with those guys, where they laugh me out of the room, and I come back next Sunday, laugh me. That's what I'm doing now with the pro forma. I'm making sure that it's button tight and that it's perfect. And then I have my schematic layout so I can articulate what I'm doing to the developers and things like that when I go to present. And even for the people at the kind of like I met with John Fassbender for grant money, because I'm gonna need like $500,000 of free money to get rid of like lead paint and get rid of asbestos and things like that, right? But they have free money out there, right? And so this is
To abate those types of things.
abate
Yeah.
those types of 500. So that's me again putting pieces together to put my capital stack together to make sure that this deal works. And I'll be honest with you, I don't have all the answers now. I don't know the developer that I'm going to work with, but I'm going to tell you this, Peter, man, I'm working my butt, and I got some of the best people around me, man. That's giving me guidance, man. And we're going to get this deal done as long as it pencils in and it makes sense. Because I'm not going to do it if it don't make sense.
Back to that theme, I think we've been touching on the entire conversation, is just it takes a team. No one does it. No one does it by themselves.
Right? Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
But Dontez, this has been fantastic. I know you've got to jump here for a noon, but I feel that, you know, I loved what you touched on with the Cleveland program that you're in right now. Best of luck on that project.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure, folks. Dontez is very active on LinkedIn. He's a very accessible professional. We'll be sure to include his contact information when this podcast goes live. Thanks for listening.
Please do, Peter. And thank you so much for your time, man. This means a lot to me, to give me a platform to talk about myself, which I enjoy doing. So, man, you've been nothing but awesome, Peter, and I wish you success with your podcast and everything else.
My pleasure, Dontez. Thank you.
All right, Peter, take care.